The helpful content update is decimating websites. The economy is destroying ad rates. And AI is stealing our blog traffic. We've heard this song before, or at least songs a lot like it. So the question is, are we gonna sit around and whine about things that are outside of our control? Or are we gonna take the bull by the horns and wrestle it to the ground? Metaphorically, of course. We should probably avoid getting gored by a bull today. Let me show you how content creators are making way more money per page view on their websites, and how you can do it too in under 2 weeks. I'm gonna walk through all the important steps for how to create a really good info product that you can actually sell and make a good income from, and how to make sure you get it right the first time. For those of you who are in Project 24, I'm going to tell you right now there is an awesome course inside Project 24. It's got over 20 lessons in it about how to create an info product in about 10 days. That's kind of the basis for what we're doing here today. Whenever we create an info product, we need to start with what in marketing we call the value proposition. In our course, we call it the course promise. What this is it's a promise of what the person who buys and takes your course or uses your info product, how is their life going to change as a result of this info product? This one thing is critical. It's going to drive everything we do, from the information that we're going to include in this info product, to the formats that we're going to deliver it in, to how we're going to market this product and make sure that we can sell it really effectively. Do not shortchange this step. If my project Double Time were about interior design, for example, my course promise or my value proposition might be something like this. As a result of taking my course, students will be able to make their home look like a magazine cover, while saving hundreds of dollars on interior decorator fees and expensive decor. You see what we did there? We made a promise to them of how their life was going to change. Their home's going to go from looking how it does today to looking like a magazine cover, right? Except they're going to be able to do that without paying hundreds of dollars, sometimes even thousands of dollars, to pay an interior decorator, as well as to buy really expensive decor and furniture. When you have a course promise or a value proposition like that, it can drive everything. So ask yourself the question, what is a problem that people in your niche have? Something that you've got content around already. Maybe even look at some of the best performing content on your website. Maybe even go into Google Search Console and look at those pages that do the best and see what search queries are people searching to land on those pages. That's going to give you an idea of some of the biggest problems that people are facing and why they're coming to your blog in the first place. That's a great way to figure out what sort of problem you might be able to solve for them. And once you figure that out, coming up with a really good course promise is pretty easy. Now, if you're a bit further along and you already have really good traffic on your website, or maybe you have a fantastic email list, or maybe you also have a YouTube channel and you're actually getting people engaging and commenting on your videos. This is fantastic because now you can use this audience and ask them questions that will help guide you towards creating an even better info product based on a really good course promise. So if you're there, fantastic. If you're not, that's okay. We can start with what we know and use that Google Search Console data. It's incredible. Just figure out some good way that you could make your audience's lives better, a problem that you could solve. It's especially helpful, these are especially valuable problems to solve, when you can save somebody time or money that they're already spending or that they know they're going to have to spend soon. Or if you can help them improve a skill, increase their security, or improve their health, or any of these other things that we find to be particularly valuable. If you can solve somebody's needs, whether those needs be physical needs, or once we move into that level of more psychological needs, these are problems that people are willing to pay money to solve. But now we need to dive into the different formats that you can use for your info product. A lot of people make, I'll call it the mistake because it is a mistake. It prevents us from getting nearly the amount of value for our info product that it should be worth. So they make this one mistake, and that is that they create one thing in one format and they sell it. The reality is there's a lot more value to be had when we can provide people typically with a bundle of things. And that's just because I think a lot of times the problems that we need solved, they're best solved through more than one tool. For example, one of the absolute best formats that you can use to pass information to another person is video. If you can engage with them, if you can talk with them, if you can show and demonstrate things, it's going to do a lot more than what you're going to be able to pass through just writing an ebook. So people perceive courses that have video content to be more valuable, but also people tend to find a course, even if it's not in a video format, but in kind of PowerPoint slides that are laid out more like a slideshow almost, that tends to be even more valuable still than an ebook. And I think it's because people see the progression. They know that this is kind of a step-by-step process. And when people read books, they kind of expect it to just be a bunch of information, even when you can lay things out in a step-by-step format. Ebooks, people are usually not expecting to pay more than about $10 for, maybe $20 if it's really valuable information. But when you provide somebody with a video course, oftentimes $50 for the same information is completely understandable. In many cases, depending on the problem that you're solving, $100, $200 is completely reasonable. But even video courses alone are not as valuable as a video course that also comes with helpful worksheets, or maybe that comes with some audio guides that people can listen to while they're driving or doing other tasks. And all of those things are much more valuable in many cases if they also can have a little bit of one-on-one time with you. That's where a consultation can add substantial value to the info product that you're creating. So I've listed off a whole bunch of different formats. I want to talk really briefly about some of the pros and cons of each. Video is the first one. I think that most courses and most info products should include video content of some form. If you can do that. If you can't, if it's just completely not feasible for you right now, that's okay. Just recognize that you're probably not going to make as much money. You're not going to get as much value from people because they're not going to perceive it as quite as valuable. The downsides of video are that it's harder to produce for a lot of us if you don't have a great video setup and you're not used to doing this sort of thing. Also, delivery can be difficult. It can be expensive to host video files if you want to host them somewhere other than like YouTube. But you can host them on YouTube. Just unlist your videos and then you can either put links to them from a document or you can embed them on a web page on your website. It's actually pretty amazing and the hosting is totally free. Ebooks are fantastic. They're really easy for a lot of us to create, especially if you've been blogging, because you know that writing an ebook isn't that hard. 2,000 words for a blog post isn't that difficult. And if that's the case, then 40,000 words for an ebook, it's really just not that difficult. It's just also a lot less intimidating and it's super easy to deliver. You can also list your ebooks separately on Amazon as well as sell them on your website. So there are a lot of reasons why having an ebook is nice. Also, when you list your ebook on Amazon, it can also have the effect of making you as the author appear more authoritative than those who don't have an ebook. Authors are trusted. People who aren't authors are maybe less trusted on the internet. The downside of ebooks is they're usually just not perceived as quite as valuable. A lot of ebooks are being sold for like $3 and oftentimes they're even free. So if the goal is to build up your exposure, to get seen, maybe you go and you make that ebook totally free, put it in the Kindle owner lending library. Is that what they still call it? There's options like that. But if the goal is to make some money, then I would definitely package that ebook with some other things. The info product that I'm working on right now actually is built around an ebook, but I'm building on top of it. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. Next is audio. You can put together audio guides. You can make an audio format of your book, your ebook. Make an audiobook that people can listen to. People pay more for audiobooks than they do for ebooks. But also you can just have some audio guides that are formatted more like a podcast, where you sit and you talk about the topic and you're able to provide a little bit more detail and have a little bit more of a discussion around it. It doesn't have to be something that people are like super focused on. They can sort of digest that information while they drive or do other things. Next, I'm going to bundle a few things together: software, tools, and files. These are all basically digital files, downloads that people can take from you. If you know how to create some sort of software or just generate a tool, I'm literally making a tool in a Google Sheet that's going to make people's lives a lot easier than if they just had the ebook that I'm giving them alone. This Google Sheet is going to have a bunch of calculations done for them, make people's lives easy. And so if you can provide them with some sort of digital download that's going to do that for them, fantastic. Like I said, if you have the knowledge and the skills to develop some piece of software that solves their problem for them, or at least gets them closer to solving their problem, that's going to help a ton to make your product substantially more valuable. Next is a consultation. If you are still really unsure what sort of product you could offer, what problem you can solve for people, start with a consultation. It's a fantastic way for people to get their more custom and more unique problems solved by you if they view you as somebody who's authoritative or who just knows more than they do about the topic. This can be really, really easy to start selling right away. Basically, all you need to do is create a sales page explaining what sorts of things that you'll consult for, listing a price, which is a little hard to do when you don't know what problem you're solving for them. So you might have to start on the less expensive side. And then you essentially just set up like a Calendly link so that they can schedule time with you and have a Zoom call. This can feel really intimidating, but it's one of the best ways to get very direct input from people who are part of your audience into what sorts of problems they have, what questions they have, and what you could solve for them later with a better info product. Now, I don't want you to miss out on this key point that I alluded to earlier. Bundling multiple of these different formats is going to make your information product look and probably actually be substantially more valuable than if you just create one of these. So if you can make a cool little downloadable tool, maybe it's a spreadsheet, maybe it's just a worksheet, in addition to an ebook, or maybe even a video course, or maybe it's an ebook, but there's a video demonstration of something from the ebook. And that way it's not a full video course, but the video adds value to the ebook. Don't skip out on the bundling. It's so much better. And now I want to include one more little helpful tip, and that is to include some 1 hour extras. These are things that you could literally create in just 1 hour that are also going to make your info product feel more helpful. Oftentimes this looks like a worksheet, or maybe even just a cheat sheet that people could print off to keep available after they watch your course that they can just refer back to, and it will remind them of important things. How many audiobooks or even just business self-help actual physical books do you see today that have a link to a website where there are other additional resources that you can download to help you through whatever it is that they're trying to teach you to do? That's because it makes it so much easier to actually learn what you need to learn from that book. Good info, huh? Well, I'm not even done yet. I still have more to say, and I feel like this video is already getting kind of long. But if you're already excited about info products and have gotten something really helpful out of this video, I would love it if you would let me know by clicking that little like button right down there. Anyway, let's get back to the content. I'll try to cover the next couple things a little more quickly. The first thing I want to share with you is that as you start to plan out what sort of formats you're going to use for all of the different things you're going to offer with your info product bundle, I hope, I want you to think about the production quality that you're capable of now. And then I want you to think of the production quality that you would hope to be capable of maybe a year from now. And I want you to consider how you could get a little closer to that 1 year from now goal, but today. Let's fast forward it a bit. The reason for that is when you create this info product, chances are if you do it sort of at the level, the quality that you are comfortable with today, then chances are by the time you start selling it, 3 months are going to pass, and suddenly you're going to want to remake it because you're like, oh, I'm kind of embarrassed by that product that I made. So if you can just take the opportunity right now to level up just a little bit more, it's probably going to be worth it, and it's probably going to prevent you from having to recreate your info product after just a few months of selling it. But don't let that be what holds you back from creating your info product. It's better to create something of value and get it out there and not expect it to be totally perfect. If perfection is your goal, you will never achieve it. Sorry to say that. And because of that, you'll probably never make a great income online. So don't expect perfection from yourself. Just if you can level it up a little bit, go ahead and do that. Next, we've got to talk real quick about pricing. Pricing is a big thing in marketing. I've had this question asked to me like probably over 100 times in masterminds, in YouTube lives. How do I know how to price my own product? There's not really a great way, especially if you're creating something that's pretty unique. If what you're creating is really closely related to or very comparable to something else already out there, then you can have a pretty easy starting point. But if you're thinking like, well, some people sell online courses for like $5,000. Well, that's probably not a great comparison because the problem that they're solving may be substantially more valuable than the problem that you're solving. If you're in a hobby niche and you're just helping someone get a little bit better at a hobby, then it's probably not something that people are typically going to be willing to spend quite as much on as if you're really helping them earn a living or save money or like make a huge advancement in their career. The amount of money people are willing to spend to solve the problem you're solving for them, that is the question that you need to ask. If it's a problem that can be solved by literally hiring someone to solve that problem for you, how much do people charge to solve that problem? Now, it's important to remember that if you're teaching someone how to solve their own problem, they're not going to pay as much to learn how to solve their own problem as they would pay to just have it solved for them. So it's just a starting point. You're going to need to work back a little bit. Let's go back to that interior design example. If I might be willing or just know that I would have to spend maybe a couple of $1,000 to have my home, the inside of my home, look like a magazine cover. Well, that's more than I want to spend, so I'm looking for a DIY alternative. Well, I know that the ceiling for my price is maybe that $2,000. That's what people spend. I don't know. I'm making that up. If you're in interior design and you think that number's way, way off, I'm sorry, it probably is. Whatever that number really is, do a little bit of market research, find out what people are paying for interior design, and use that as your price ceiling. And recognize that you're probably only going to be able to charge a fraction of that to help people solve the problem themselves. If there are already other ebooks in your space and you're creating an ebook, but you're building on it and you're providing a really cool spreadsheet that solves people's problems for them. Maybe it does a bunch of cool calculations like mine's gonna do. Maybe on top of that, you add a video demonstrating some of the techniques that you teach in the ebook, something I may or may not be considering myself. Then you're gonna be able to take what other people are charging for an ebook and maybe even double that or triple it if you're able to provide people with just much more value in helping them solve their problem by putting in a lot less time, having to do a lot less thinking, or just do a lot less work. I'll also add that starting on the low side is better than starting on the high side. When you have to back off of your price, it looks bad. But when you start at a low price and then you have room to raise it up, that's a huge marketing opportunity because you can launch the product saying, I am selling this at an introductory price. It is going to go up. Then people have a little bit of time scarcity and they're more likely to buy the product. That's getting a little bit into the whole selling side of creating an info product, which we're going to cover maximizing sales in another video soon. And we'll put it right here, one of these corners, when that video is ready to come out. But if you're in Project 24, that information already exists for you in the form of our 10-day info products course. Make sure you go check it out right now and consider maybe creating an info product for yourself right now. It's probably time and it's definitely worth it.